What's up, everybody? Welcome to the CanesInSight Daily Podcast, powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. It is Saturday morning, doing our breakfast with the Canes, with CanesInSight. Love doing these shows. Just feel great. Weekend starting. Beautiful day here in Miami Beach. Fired up for the Canes, man. I'm still riding high off this Jackson Cantwell commitment. I was around members of the staff this week. Very good vibes in Coral Gables, but at the same time, a lot of urgency, getting ready to get back to work. That's not just a slogan. That's how they get down. We got new players coming in on campus here, transfers. We'll see them here next week, and that's going to be a whole new team. Carson Beck throwing, and we are off and running. People are always off and running. Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. If you or someone you care about has been injured in an accident, you could be entitled significant compensation. Dial 1-800-747-FREE, 1-800-747-3733. Take back control of your life with Anajar and Levine. Chat's already bumping, man. People are always fired up here on these Saturday mornings. Feels like Sunday morning with this Canes schedule on baseball side. You had the Thursday night tough loss on a web gem from Notre Dame. Then yesterday, Miami just completely demolished them, run ruled them. Game was over in the seventh. I was out there. Really great atmosphere, good crowd. Saw a lot of CanesInSight fans, a lot of just hardcore Canes baseball fans. It was awesome atmosphere. Family were happy. It was senior day, so you like senior day to go well, and went out with a bang. I mean, talk about Cuvée, Daniel Cuvée, Dorian Gonzalez. Who else was hitting out there? I mean, everybody was hitting. Ogden was hitting. You know, Jake Kulikowski, a freshman or a sophomore, who hasn't played that much this year. He looked pretty good. Continued to build on what he did late in the first Notre Dame game. AJ Siskar on the mound, getting strikeout after strikeout. He's the most fun pitcher to watch, I got to say, just with his pace, with the way he throws that slider, that sinker, and just the way he attacks hitters, man. He is fun to watch. He is a different kind of dude on the mound, yelling into his glove and making a ton of great pitches and just competing, man. Really fun to watch him and great to see everybody out there. So recruiting is hot now. I did the bank yesterday, kind of going through the whole board, and really wanted to take questions from people in the chat. So get your questions in the chat. I really want to make sure I'm answering everybody's questions just as far as where the team is right now. But wanted to do a quick one, talk just recruiting, the board, who the top prospects are, like where the focus is. We all know where the focus was in the last couple of weeks, right? With Jackson Cantwell, that gets done. So where's the focus now? And look, there's a lot of guys on the board. Again, I went through all those names on the bank. I can answer questions about that. You can see that on YouTube. You can go to CanesInSight.com for the written version, 7 million posts and counting. Sign up for free if you have not done so. But yeah, man, to me, I think really now that you've landed your top national prospect in Jackson Cantwell, the number one player overall. He's still the number one player on the composite. Not really worried about what 247 says on that one. I mean, the more you see about this guy, and, you know, by the way, if anyone hasn't seen this, let me just pull this up because this was just unreal yesterday. So, you know, I spend time in the gym. I'm there pretty much every day, but I'm not, you know, a power lifter, as you guys could see. But so maybe some of you guys in the comments have more of a frame of reference for what we're looking at right here. But to me, it looks kind of insane. Check this out here on Jackson Cantwell. So we're looking at this was a couple days ago, 450 pounds, close grip for Miami's newest offensive line commit. There's his dad right there, former silver medalist, Christian Cantwell, the silver medalist in the shot put. They're both elite shot putters, both wearing the gear. You see the pants or shorts on Cantwell, the trucker hat on Mr. Cantwell, 450 pounds, close grip. So again, I'm not a power lifter, but that seems like a lot of weight for a 16-year-old who's 6'7", almost 6'8", with 33+ inch arms. So yeah, man, pretty impressive, I think, when you look at Jackson Cantwell in the weight room. So the more you learn about this guy, the more you just get excited about what his potential is. I was asking people about his athletic testing, 4.7 shuttle guy. So he's got lateral quickness as well, on top of just supreme, never before seen really in college football power in his hands. When you talk about the shot put numbers, this guy could be, you're talking about Olympic medalist, maybe Olympic gold medalist in the shot put. Both his parents, as everybody knows, Olympians in the shot put. His dad is silver medalist. So the power in the hands, about. The power that you see in the chest, pretty impressive. And then that shuttle and just the overall athleticism. The more you learn about this guy, the unique traits, the 33 ACT as a eighth grader, is just, man, it gets you excited to see someone like that in the Canes colors. There you go. DWB saying close grip, more triceps and less chest allows the arms to get more involved. Yeah, man, that makes it even more impressive, really, because he's got power, the explosive power in those hands from the shot put, which is really a whole body athletic movement. You got the chest power. Now you talk about the tries. I mean, this guy's just a monster, man. Jason Patterson asking, any update on Justice Fitzpatrick? Not mentioned in the back. Gabby says he doesn't like the way it's trending. I never really heard too much about Justin Fitzpatrick. He was on campus. Doesn't mean that he's not, on the board or a guy we'd like to have. But to me, it's the main foot when you talk about DBs. Some of the names I've heard: Jalen Waters, who's committed. I heard they think he's like a top 1 or 2 guy in the country. They saw him in spring and they're blown away. This is the 6'2" corner out of Armwood. They call him seatbelt, big, athletic, long-armed, productive player that Canes fans are going to be very happy to have in the defensive backfield. I saw him at OT7s, which is like the national 7-on-7 tournament with some of the best players in the country. And this dude was unbelievable. He looked every bit of a high 4-star, maybe 5-star type player in that setting, surrounded by highly ranked players. Jontavius Wyman, smaller, kind of your Phillip Buchanan type, if you want a comparison for a Canes fan, with a guy with the athleticism, the movement skills, return ability, offensive ability. He's committed as well. 4-star, flipped him from Georgia. And then Camden Portis, son of Clinton Portis, nickel, guy who ran 10.9 in the 100 meters, legacy guy. Also, I saw him at OT7s. I think nickel for him, but 10.9, that's good speed for a nickel, and he's not the smallest guy in the world. So, excited about that. Williams Bacon, I apologize, saying, good morning, D-Money. Javian Mallory, Miami's running back commit from West Boca, had a good spring game against Columbus yesterday. We have a stud. Any other 2026 commits recruits had good spring games. I got to catch up on the spring games. I can tell you that Miami was at the spring game yesterday for Northwestern, right? Because you had Neiman Lawrence, the quarterback from Ransom. This is the 2028 Phenom quarterback. I've heard rumors he's going to classify to 27. UM doesn't really know about that because UM doesn't get involved in reclassifying kids. They're not trying to take kids from high school programs. That's kind of more on the kids side. So your guess is as good as mine on the reclass, but obviously a huge target for Miami at quarterback. Probably going to be the best quarterback in the country, whatever class he's in. Sensational player, now playing for Teddy Bridgewater. What a year for Teddy Bridgewater. The guy wins the state championship, goes to the playoffs, plays it like a couple snaps in a playoff game when Goff gets hurt for the Lions, then comes back now and he's coaching the Northwestern. So Lawrence is a major target. They went and saw him. To Darius Hughes, the safety, who was, I believe, originally at South Dade. Correct me if I'm wrong. He was down south and now at Northwestern. Florida State commit. Miami wanted to get eyes on him, so I'm curious to hear the report there because he was someone that's getting a lot of buzz as a rising player. But they were out there checking him out and seeing what he could do. They were all over the country really looking at the spring games. This is the evaluation period. So it's not just about recruiting guys. It's also about seeing guys and seeing who's improved, who maybe has gone back, who looked good on tape, but then you see him in person and you're not loving what you see. So that's really why this evaluation period is so important. You're going to see guys maybe taper off in terms of how hard we're going after them, and you're going to see guys really elevate in terms of how hard we are recruiting them. Tony Talk, appreciate you. Says, what's good? For all my Canes, I just dropped the Sean Taylor Remembers video on my page. Show him some love. Thanks for the insight, D. Yeah, check out Tony Talk, college football. You can see some Sean Taylor highlights. I will never turn down Sean Taylor highlights, especially now I got a son. He's got 2 sons that got to learn about what Sean Taylor's all about. Question about Jabari Antoine from MLM. And by the way, get the questions in the chat here. Haven't heard much about Jabari Antoine. He was hurt. Any updates? Looks big. I heard he's a great kid. Getting, healing up. I think that the defensive backfield, there's a lot less of a need for him to be out there full go when you have Xavier Lucas, when you have Ethan O'Connor, guys like that. Now you got Keontae Scott joining the mix. So there's no rush to get Jabari Antoine on the field. He's going to be on the field when he's ready, but I haven't heard anything negative. It's not like a Citizen where he had a setback and it really kind of messed up his knee. I haven't heard anything like that with Antoine. I think he's on track. He was out there doing some things, but he wasn't really, participating in spring as far as like competing or anything like that. But he was out there. Question from Kyle here. If we add Kenny Pickett, that's 5 offensive linemen. Will we take another offensive lineman not named Pepe? Ryan Merritt's still around. Reese Winthrop, Reese, I have to look up his last name. Another center type from Orlando still in the mix. Pull up his name. I believe he's from Orlando Boone. And then Brett College, the big offensive guard from IMG. He's still in the mix. But the guy I want to highlight here from Kyle was Canon Pickett. So let me get Canon Pickett here. We can watch his highlights because Canon Pickett's one of these guys that has been consistently highlighted to me as a guy that Miami really wants badly and are going to recruit extremely hard. Here's a commercial. You see some Josh Allen highlights. How'd this guy get 0 stars, man? He looks pretty good in his highlights. How did we end up with like Evan Sharris or whoever we ended up in that class? But anyways, Canon Pickett, 6'5", 310, barrel chested if you've seen him in person. Miami legacy related to Booker Pickett, DJ Pickett, who ended up going to LSU. You see him here pulling. Canon Pickett, the big competition with him is going to be Clemson. He took a visit there in the spring and loved it. He got some crystal balls to Clemson at that point. Of course, Clemson, not necessarily an offensive line factory, but a pretty big-time program and very good in that Tampa area where Pickett is from. So certainly a legitimate competition there for Canon Pickett, but I think the momentum is starting to shift more towards the Miami Hurricanes based on everything I've heard. And when I talk to Miami, Canon Pickett's one of those names that you hear immediately, hey, we got to get this guy. Watching him, I think there's still a lot of development here, but the body type is certainly an interior lineman. Here he is against Ashari Charles, who's another Miami target who's getting crystal balls to Miami. I think this is where Pickett has an advantage against Charles is the power. Charles more of a fast pass rusher. But yeah, you see him here. Again, tackle, I don't think where it was going to be his home. I think drive blocking, being that barrel-chested dude with some good athleticism with NFL bloodlines. Again, his cousin DJ Pickett was 5-star corner who's tearing it up right now for LSU. Unfortunately, not a Cane. But he's got athleticism in there, and I think interior, he's a bully. You brought in 3 tackles, really, with Congdon, Joel Irvin, and Jackson Cantwell. I'm sure some of those guys can slide inside, but this is someone I think you're bringing him in really to play inside. Brett College, another one that you're recruiting who really projects as a guard. Here you go again against Ashari Charles, Miami target. And you can see that's a power advantage for Canon Pickett. Ashari Charles is more of your Malik Bryant type, more of a stand-up pass rusher who can make things happen. But Canon Pickett, you cannot talk to anybody in Miami without hearing this guy. They love him. They love what he brings to the table from just an upside standpoint. I think what you're watching here, this is good competition. I mean, you're talking about Venice. You're talking about one of the best programs in the state year in, year out. This is a pretty battle-tested player, but I think there's still a lot of upside there. I don't know if this guy's as polished as some of the other guys we've seen come through. I think the pure power is there, and we've seen him at camps perform well as well. This is a very, very good year in the state of Florida. You're going to see a lot of power for like high-end power 4 teams, signed players from the state of Florida, tackle, guard, center, you name it. Miami already has J.J. Sparks committed, Joel Irvin committed. Would love to get Canon Pickett in there to add 3 Florida offensive linemen to go with Ben Congdon and Jackson Cantwell. Here we got Vaughn in the house. Clutch saying, I heard we may be losing Jordan Campbell. Any truth? I haven't heard anything. I mean, you never know, but I haven't heard anything. Jordan Campbell, linebacker at Northwestern, formerly at Carroll City. That Northwestern team is really turning into a powerhouse. Damian Hernandez asking at the DT ranks, who's the most likely guy that we land? I don't know at this point. It's still kind of early. I'll know more here in a couple of weeks. I would say the guys on the list at D tackle, Vaden Cleveland, Deuce Geralds, Kendall Gorville, James Johnson, Lamar Brown, Keyshawn Stencil, who I heard looked really good in spring when we visited him, and Bryce Perry Wright, who's listed as a D tackle and a D end, but I think it's probably more of a D end if you ask me. His cousin is Grady Jarrett. I could see that competition. Jay Lamar versus Favor, Akee versus Derek Cooper with Mallory already in the fold. I don't think Akee's in the mix. I think it's going to be Derek Cooper and Jay Lamar. And there is no world in which Derek Cooper wants to go to Miami that he's not a Miami Hurricane. So don't even look. I would never, and I've said this before on the show, I would never look at Derek Cooper versus anyone else. Derek Cooper is going to be a Cane if he wants to be a Cane. And Miami is going to fight like crazy to make him a Cane, which is why I think they'll get him, right? Because when they're locked in, they're pretty effective. But there's no scenario out there where Derek Cooper is like runs that. We run out of space for Derek Cooper. That's just that ain't gonna happen. Anthony Manzano wants to know, when it comes to recruiting, is it rare that you see a 5-star defensive tackle in general? 5-star guys on the defensive line are mainly going to be edge rushers. I think it's a mix. The thing about 5-star defensive tackles is, number one, those guys tend to be the ones that are good. Sometimes you'll get an Aaron Donald, but those are exceedingly rare. You look at the NFL, Chris Jones, right? The kid from the Tennessee Titans from Mississippi State. Really both Mississippi State guys that are all pros. Those guys were 5-stars going to Mississippi State. Alabama, all those guys are 5-stars. You know about Jalen Carter, guys like that coming from Georgia. So defensive tackles are typically going to be your bag position. Those are going to be your guys that are making a ton of money. They made a ton of money before NIL was legal. They were the ones getting $40,000 in a duffel bag from Alabama. Alabama used to get in trouble every year for getting those guys. I remember Albert Means, they almost got the death penalty for paying for him illegally. Of course, those violations started, and miraculously when Mark Emmert, who hired Nick Saban to LSU, took over as the chancellor of the NCAA, Alabama stopped getting in trouble, but still kept signing even more 5-star defensive tackles. I guess those guys just stopped liking money at some point. So, yeah, Alabama cheated like crazy. We don't have to get into that. So here we go. Question here from Bagging Up. Can you compare and contrast Derek Cooper with Javion Mallory? Javion Mallory, the 4-star commit from West Boca. Derek Cooper, I think he's a 5-star. He certainly presents like a 5-star running back / athlete from Chaminade Madonna, who is not committed, but is an incredibly high target. So I would say first things first with Derek Cooper, you got to talk about his speed and it's just track acumen, triple jump, long jump, 400, 200, 100. And then the 100 in particular, you're talking about 10-7 speed, right? However, I saw these guys up close at camp, and let me pull up the Derek Cooper highlights so we can just see what we're talking about with this dude. So there's a guy that I saw at camp. Watch the highlights before we look at all these. Sorry for having the Gators on the stream. I apologize. These are the commercials, man. What can I tell you? So with Derek Cooper and Mallory, I saw them both at camp side by side. Mallory actually won the MVP of that camp, was actually smoother, more athletic, I thought, in the pass catching drills, just more coordinated. Cooper's is a physical specimen, but a little more straight line. But this is what he can do in a straight line. There's that 10-7 speed. So I think with Cooper, first of all, Cooper's also very good on defense. He's going to play running back at Miami if we get him, or pretty much I think anywhere he wants to play running back. But he's capable of being a great defender. I think that's his best position. But I always want to move guys to defense. But that speed is pretty rare at his size at the running back position. He's also a very productive player. I know Miami is just dead set on getting this guy. They're tired of these guys going to Georgia, going to Ohio State, all these teams. But I think what you see with Cooper is the raw speed, right? I mean, look at it. You see him pulling away here. These are real teams. He's playing for Chaminade, so he's going against some real competition. Whereas I think Mallory, you're talking about a guy that's more of your traditional running back, not as pure speed, not as much size, but he has pretty good size. And with Mallory, he's got good feet, just good overall feel for running back. Whereas Cooper, you're watching, these are a lot of straight lines, but the straight lines are in a body that's 210, 15 pounds, running probably 4.3 by the time he's in college, based on what he's done. And there you see him on special teams. This guy's a big football player, man. Special teams, linebacker, safety, and then running back. So he's a guy that I think the versatility is what you like. I believe he caught a touchdown in the Under Armour game. Even though I thought Mallory was better as a receiver, Cooper gives you something in that respect. And there you see him on defense here. This is where if I was the ruler of the world, I'd want this on defense. Look at that speed, man, and that size. That'd be nice to see at safety, right? I mean, that's like top 10 pick all day. So, yeah, I'd love to get this dude at linebacker, but he's going to be And you see him again. I mean, I think he's an incredible linebacker. Reminds me, not the same player because he's much faster than this guy, but kind of reminds me of Kenny McIntosh, who ended up from another Broward kid. He went to Georgia to play running back. I thought he could have been a first-round pick at linebacker. Ended up being a sixth-round, I want to say, pick at running back, but won a national championship as a starting running back. And, of course, he's in the NFL. So it worked out for him. But I think at linebacker, he could have been like special. Cooper, the advantage he has over a Kenny McIntosh, just more speed. Faster guy with that 10-7 speed. So I think that gives him the advantage in that respect. Just more of a talented dude when it comes to that. Clutch asking, how much rotation do you see him getting with Lyle being our clear number one? Think he beats out Marty Brown for number two? Shoot, I mean, we're talking a year. Who knows, man? I mean, look, I think you just bring these guys in and see. So we got to see what Marty Brown does at the Division I level. We got to see what Jordan Lyle does as kind of the lead back. We got to get Derek Cooper. I think Mallory will be a guy that's ready to play pretty quick because he's kind of that ready-made guy. He knows how to run. I see him in person. He's pretty big. He's not like overwhelmingly huge like a Fletcher, but he's somebody that he'll be more than enough size for the college level. And he was very polished when I saw him at camp. Pinellas Kane asking, when was the last time I got a 5-star linebacker? Seems like the focus is never on that position. Usually the lower star guys. I mean, I'm sure they'd love to have a 5-star linebacker, just haven't gotten it done. Last one I could think of, maybe Arthur Brown back in 2008. Didn't work out with Randy Shannon. I think Randy Shannon's system just didn't click for Arthur Brown. More of just a athletic kind of run, see it hit running back or linebacker. Also played running back as well in high school. He didn't really play for Miami. Ended up going to Kansas State, being a really good player for Kansas State. Second-round pick of the Baltimore Ravens. Didn't work out for the Ravens. Was out of the league pretty quick, but still good college player at Kansas State. Second-round pick. Miami should have gotten much more out of that 5-star linebacker that they landed. That's the last one I could think of. You know, James Williams was a 5-star safety, but he was really a linebacker, as we saw right when he got to the pros. He moved to linebacker. He started games towards the end of his rookie year. Didn't know what he was doing. It was just out there being a great football player and athlete, but still was effective. And he's going to, I hope is going to have a very long career. That's the bummer of it, is that you signed Ray Armstrong in 2009. You signed James Williams in 2021. Both guys 5-star safety / linebackers, end up playing safety when really, if you had the opportunity to bulk those guys up and play linebacker, I think you'd be in much better shape. And those guys would have been in much better shape. You would have had probably All-America type players who end up going first, second round. Because Ray Armstrong played like 80-something games in the pros. And again, he got to the pros not ever playing linebacker. He, like James Williams, learned how to play linebacker in the pros and still was very effective in terms of lasting in the league. If he would have come in with more experience, you could have been talking about a star player, at least a starting caliber player for a long time. So, you know, those things are tough. You wish things worked out different for everybody, but we kind of lack safeties at that time. Sorry for going on that tangent, but I got the question. DWB asking or saying DJ Williams was a 5-star, started as a running back. Yeah, he was a 5-star. I'd say he's a 5-star linebacker because that was what he was expected to play. Came here and played fullback to get on the field. We had Dan Morgan at the time and John Vilma, who was a backup, but was a good backup. We had good linebackers at that time. So Williams played fullback to get on the field. Did get on the field, scored a touchdown against Florida in the Sugar Bowl, and then switched to linebacker the next year, started, and is now in the or was in the NFL for many, many, many years. Hassan's asking, is Derek Cooper reminding him of Reggie Bush? I don't know if he has the lateral quickness of Reggie Bush. He certainly has a lot of speed. Reggie Bush probably like a 10-4 guy, I think. This guy's more of a 10-7 guy, but that's still flying. You know, that's going to score touchdowns at any level. Long touchdowns. The NFL, if you're 10-7, you're going to be able to house long runs in the NFL. That's real speed. This guy's bigger than Reggie Bush, playing defense as well. I mean, I've seen Cooper in person, man. See him run over a dude right there. Cooper's a big guy. He's kind of like a tall guy for a running back. He's angular. He's not like a super jacked, squatty guy, but he has plenty of size. I'd say he's easily 215. And there you see him. He's tough, man. Not just playing defense, but running the ball. Let's see what else we got here. El Rico asking, what are our chances with defensive line? Lamar Brown, 5-star from Baton Rouge. He visited in spring. I think that one might be slipping a little bit, but sometimes you think slips, sometimes they come back. I know Miami loves him on defense, has always loved him on defense, but they're working on that one. I don't know if that one is the hottest one right now. I think Keyshawn Stansel for North Carolina is picking up some steam. I would say Bryce Perry Wright from Buford, who I believe might be a 5-star when it's all said and done. He's someone who's picking up a lot of steam. Where's Pete? Brand's asking. Still celebrating his Knicks and Leafs. I think he's playing soccer. So, I'll roll solo. My production skills aren't quite what Pete has. So I'm trying my best here. I'm trying to learn the production game so I can go live more often, because it's amazing. We go live at any time. We got 1,000 people on here on a Saturday morning. Really appreciate everybody's support. Man, the more I watch these Derek Cooper linebacker highlights, the more I want him on defense. But I know that's not going to happen. Nathan, what about Anthony Tank Jones from Alabama, from Mobile, Alabama? Same place we got Cam Pruitt, linebacker. Same place we got Cole McConaughey, defensive end. Anthony Tank Jones, big time target. He's on the board, man. Every time I talk about defensive ends, he's a name that comes up. So let me pull up the defensive end board that I posted here on CanesInsight.com. Again, 7 million posting and counting, 7.4 million to be exact. You could read it for free. It is all free to sign up and do your thing. Let me just check it here. Here we go. So these are the names to watch at defensive end. I think it's kind of a pretty good. Am I sharing that screen? I'm sorry. There we go. Let's see here. Let's see what we got at defensive end. We're talking about, I mentioned Ashari Charles, who you saw there blocking or going against Canon Pickett as a blocker. Anthony Tank Jones, we just talked about. Kosak Opala, a name that I want to focus on, from Houston, Texas. In fact, I might pull up his video right now. Kosak Opala, riser on the board, very athletic dude, twitchy, from Houston area. Jaquez Wilkes, I heard Jason Taylor had a great visit out there to Alabama to visit him. Super athletic guy out there in the sticks in Alabama. Wadley, Alabama, which is like the middle of nowhere. It's not like Mobile, where Tank Jones is from. This is real country Alabama, but he has interest. He visited in the spring. We loved him when he visited. He had a great visit. Jason Taylor went and visited him here in Wadley, and I heard that went very well. You had Daniel Norman from St. Thomas Aquinas, local guy with a lot of talent, and DeAnthony Lafayette, undersized but very talented pass rusher who's getting a lot of offers here from Orlando just from his pure pass rush ability. So those are some names to keep an eye on at defensive tackle. Let me pull up Kosak Opala's film, because this was a name that I heard has a lot of juice with Miami. They saw him. They loved him. He's somebody, tough area, right? Texas has, I hate to say this because I'm the biggest homer when it comes to South Florida, but you have to be honest and say that Texas right now is producing better players than South Florida, which has not been the case for the last 2 decades, but I think it is the case right now. So you want to see Miami be able to go into Texas and get things done. So let's check out the junior highlights here for our buddy Kosi. There we go. So you see big lower body, pure pass rusher, explosive. This is the guy that in our system, this would be the Malik Bryant, Herbert Scroggins type. He would play as your boundary defensive end, which is going to be closer to the sideline. That's going to be your smaller, more of a pass rusher, stand-up kind of defensive end, as a clear role in Heatherman's system. The bigger defensive end plays closer to the field, on the field side, which is just, there's more space there to his left or right. And then the boundary guy is going to be set up closer to the sideline, but is going to be your faster, more explosive pass rusher, which Kosak Opala, as you can see, he brings a lot of juice off the edge. Big lower body too. Again, I don't think this guy's that big. I think he's like 6'2", but he measured with like a 6'8", 6'9" type wingspan. Very explosive jumps, which is a good indicator of pass rush, as you can see, that explosiveness. That's where that jump comes into play when you see a play like that. He's at the quarterback in 2 seconds. So there you go. Again, look at this dude. You could just see this guy rushing quarterbacks in the ACC and causing havoc. I like this offer. I like guys like this. Houston, Texas has a lot of these dudes. Opala, I believe is that Nigerian descent. We need Martin Dubé from Botswana. He's usually on these shows. He might be able to get the last name right, but I believe Nigerian descent, has a big Nigerian population in Houston, Texas. A lot of these dudes are really, really, really good football players, just tough, play hard, smart, everything you want. And then, look how explosive this dude is. So that's the way to look at these guys when you see them, is boundary is going to, like I said, it's going to be guys like this. Hayden Lowe would be one of your field defensive ends. Armando Blunt would be your field defensive end. I think Cole McConaughey, who I mentioned earlier from Mobile, Alabama, would be that field side defensive end. Is it someone saying that's KZ Okpala's brother from the Heat? Is that true? That'd be a scoop to me. That makes sense. Certainly the athletic genes are there. Yeah, I like this guy. Ashari Charles, who I mentioned earlier from Venice, is another guy I think you'd be looking more as a boundary defensive end if we get him. Tank Jones, probably I could see him more as a field. He's got some size. Question from Lord Baconton, where are we at with safety Devin Jackson? We're on him hard. He's right there on top of the board. Very good player, very good testing. I think he ran a laser 4.5 with good size, verified size. So the physical talent is there. Wow, look at the motor on Opala running this guy down. The physical talent is there with Devin Jackson, the verified. He has good films. Competition, I don't believe, is the best, but that's okay. There's a guy who decommitted from Florida. We've been recruiting him hard. He visited in spring. Another one that visited unofficially in spring. We were up there to see him. Liked what we saw from him. He's got a lot of teammates that are going high D1, Power 4. I believe there's a teammate going to Clemson, I believe. Another guy, Danny Odom, that we're recruiting. That's a very good school up there in Orlando. So we'll see what happens with Devin Jackson. But I think Miami would love, love, love to get Devin Jackson at safety. Brandon say, time to talk about baseball, D. Big win. I mentioned it earlier. I was out there. For Canes baseball. It was a lot of fun to watch those dudes. They were getting their runs in, man. I think what happened in that game was you had Notre Dame at the end of the Thursday game talking a little bit of crap to Cuvée, Miami's superstar third baseman, best third baseman in the country. And the whole team just kind of came out with that attitude. I know Cuvée on the first pitch just crushed it, ended up hitting a home run later on in the game. Everybody was just on fire. There was a great at-bat by Dorian Gonzalez going, I don't know how many, 15, 16 pitches. It felt like forever. And then after that, he ended up getting a sacrifice fly. And after that, man, it was off and running. Canes baseball mopped these dudes. Mercy ruled them. Big game today. Big game for Tate Darius, the other true freshman starter. AJ Siskar was awesome yesterday. So now will Tate Darius be able to replicate that performance? Again, might be a big win. Try to secure number 2 seed in a regional would be a huge improvement from last year, obviously, where Miami did not make a regional and did not really even come close. You're trying to secure a first-round bye in the ACC tournament. I believe, and Canes Cat Heats or one of these baseball guys in the chat can correct me, I believe they need Wake Forest to lose and they need to win today to get that seed and to get that first-round bye. But we'll see, man. It's been a fun season. Great vibes at the Light. It was senior day, so all the parents were out there. It was awesome. It was an awesome experience. If you guys have a chance to get out there, Canes baseball tickets. This is the last one. Plus, we got some deals here. So let me just pull up here so you guys understand all the deals that we got available for Canes baseball. Best buy in town. I'm not just saying that because they're a sponsor. I am a happy customer, man. If you have kids who love baseball or just like to have a quiet environment, like to eat shakes. I say quiet environment because it's definitely not quiet. It's loud, but like to have a non-stressed environment, a relaxed, family-friendly environment. There's not people fighting in the stands. Final game, home game of the season, fan appreciation weekend, exclusive Hurricanes baseball trading cards, limited edition, and free with admission for the first 250 fans. Last chance to cheer the Canes at home. Pack the Light, finish strong. MiamiHurricanes.com/baseball tickets. MiamiHurricanes.com/baseball tickets. So hope to see you guys out there. And listen, of course, before the game, it's 10 o'clock, so you got time. You know where you got to go. The number 1 Cuban restaurant on the planet, East Las Canarias Cuban Express, 40-plus years in the making, established 1977. There you go. You got the Andrade family. This is a Miami institution. You got you see the awards. Number 1 croqueta every single year. They got 7 different types of croquetas. 5-star review, 5-star review, 5-star review. Right there in the Dayland Mall Dining Pavilion. You don't have to go all the way to Tamiami, but if you do, you're going to get the true East Las Canarias experience. But you get the true East Las Canarias experience at the Dining Pavilion because they got all 7 croquetas, all different kinds of items, traditional and non-traditional. The best Cuban restaurant on the planet, East Las Canarias Cuban Express. Canes Cat Heat 305 saying, I got to go to Miami Hurricane Team Store before the game to pick up my Cuvée signed ball. Miami Hurricane Team Store, always up and running. Shout out to Jeremy. Shout out to Harry. Saw all those guys yesterday at the game. Use promo code INSIGHT20. You get 20% off your first item. All right, fellas, 1,000 on the chat. Appreciate you guys. Like and subscribe to the show. We'll be on maybe tomorrow. I might do another one of these things, man. I love doing these breakfast shows before I get my Islas Canarias. So again, appreciate everybody on the show. Go Canes. Let's beat Notre Dame. Beat Notre Dame today, and then beat Notre Dame on Labor Day weekend. Let's go.